So, hello and welcome to a director's commentary on an old classic of ours, BBQ Etiquette. We filmed this one back in 2015, so 4 years ago now, a very long time ago. Since then, the team's come a long way. This was a bit of a side project, actually. We were shooting another film at the same time as this one, which is Harry Bot 9000, and this was kind of a bit of a warm-up film for the crew because we hadn't made anything in such a long time, and we really wanted to sort of make sure we were ready to get our hands dirty again and do some filming. So this was the comeuppance of that want to make stuff, and we just watched Kingsman and we felt that was really cool. We want to do that, but we want to put our own comedic twist on it. As cool as Kingsman was, we felt as though there was room to have a bit more fun and play with the concepts and the approaches they did with their action films, but make them more comical. So that was the goal, and that's what we put our heads together for. On the day, it was quite funny actually, because it was actually one of the hardest pieces I've ever, and I mean ever, directed. It was really, really tough. There was a mix of brilliant people on set. You had old friends who were some of the first people that I made films with, and also slightly more new people who are in my life who I'd been making university TV with. So they're a lot more kind of professional, with higher expectations, and they're used to sets that run more like a set. Whereas my old mates are used to making films that when you're shooting them, it feels like you're just mates messing around. So I was having to direct in a level that was sort of in between both of those sort of people, and at the same time we actually had one of the key actresses on board who was going to also take on a larger role in a future piece, Harry Bot 9000, that we were working on. So I had to entertain a lot of different kinds of people in appropriate ways that had to make them feel as though I was professional, but then also was being a good friend to those old mates as well. It was very exhausting to direct, mostly for all the social reasons. It was really tricky. On top of that, it's a pretty complicated piece. When it comes down to planning this film, I feel like you need time to really look over all the documents before you can get a real grasp as to how this film is made, and all the sort of preparation and all the choreography that went into it. Most people who came on board didn't really have the time to look at the documents properly. So in the morning, I talked everyone through the motions on the film, most of which didn't really have too much of an idea as to how it was actually going to work, because it is quite a complicated film to imagine when you're just stepping onto a set. So a lot of people just sort of nodded and said, okay, no idea how this is going to go down, but we trust you, let's make it, which was brilliant of them to really put so much trust into the process. But aside from that, it was a bit of a crazy shoot, with some crazy outcomes. So nevertheless, let's take a look at the short film, and I'll try and pause it every now and again and talk you through some key elements. Interestingly, the first shot that you see here, that is actually not real fire. Feels a bit like a commercial already, but it's not a commercial. Lots of brands going on here.
I love this dress. I mean, just look at it.
Interestingly, the little decisions, like that bee that came through, obviously we couldn't control the bee, but often you'll find that when you're making films, it is it's really important to actually highlight those kind of moments and not just ignore them. So, for example, I added the sound of that bee and in post and really made it feel like a part of the film, like it was intended. Just gives it that extra depth, you know.
I mean, just look at it. It's perfect.
That was our actress. Again, important thing to think about here is you're letting action continue, even though you're giving the audience multiple pieces of information. So we're seeing this person's put together their burger now, but then we also see more of this person's personality in the background. So we are feeding multiple pieces of information to your audience within a single frame, and it's incredibly important to do that, I think, so that you are keeping the pace really nice. You're giving everyone a layout of where things are in the scene and also establishing a lot more information with them as well.
Lovely day for it. It is, isn't it?
My actual neighbours. We did originally intend to shoot this shot with that particular dress, which was went out and bought for this with actual Ribena, so that it would go over the dress and stain it, and that's the reason why we went out and bought a separate dress for this. However, on the day, we weren't sure if we were going to have to do multiple takes or if the dress was something that we'd want to use in a future film or something like that. So as a result, that was actually water. And the colour of the water, when it is splashed over them, is completely dotted in post-production. That colour had been added to make it look like it was Ribena later on. Annoyingly and impressively, these two shots of the bird and the ball bouncing are actually spliced together. So originally we put food down ready for these birds to come along. We wanted to get a seagull at first. It was like me and my dad waiting in the garden very patiently for these birds to come down and then scare them by throwing a basketball towards them. No birds were harmed. They just got free bread and a little scare. It's all good. Just a healthy prank. But we got a magpie instead. There we go. Just mayonnaise there.
This food tastes like shit.
You may already notice he already has burn marks or I'm not sure what you'd call it, charcoal across his chest, because we'd already shot all the fight sequences beforehand because of the light, which we were losing quickly. We literally had 2.5 hours to shoot the entire thing.
Look at what you've done to my dress!
Already we've cut about 5 times, just all spliced together with camera blends in After Effects and all sorts. Maddie there with a cardboard knife made by my dad. Amazing acting, my god, literally one take and everyone was like, "You okay, Maddie?" Amazing acting. Like let's just appreciate that moment again. The way she whips her head back, and remember that pan lid is not there at all. It is completely her motion in her imagination. Incredible. There's a cut there. One of my favourite cuts in that entire film is when the camera pans down, or cranes downwards, and you do not notice that cut whatsoever. It is a beautiful one. The plate smashing here was actually done by my mother, throwing plates against a table. In fact, the first smash was so perfect that we couldn't use it because it was almost like it was digital because it was so perfect. Also notice the end of the rake here. You see it's switched sides now, not intentional. one of the more obvious cuts, but hey ho, it's good fun. There's a mix of different pitchforks there. As you may notice, it's now actually made of cardboard and tape. Still got the superimposed liquid on her front. This scene here, the knife scene, was done with a blend of an actual knife when it was in the ground. Then when it comes up, we replace it with just a handle, no knife whatsoever. That is added in post-production. Maddie again, amazing. She plays a total of 3 roles in this film. His t-shirt was perfect for making a cut. Now, careful here. Now, if you look closely at this area on the right-hand side of the image, is actually where our crew is. Unfortunately, because I was so concentrating on so many things that I didn't actually notice that all the crew were clearly in shot here, and they have been covered over with a load of badly tracked shrubbery. But there's so much movement, you can't tell. So if you don't need to get a good track, don't waste your time perfecting it. People don't notice, unless I point it out. Love that leg crack. That's a good one. Wonderful. That was actually made, that last shot here, that moment was made of 4 shots. So you had the shot of him before it happened, the ring that comes down itself, and then his body sways when it was just the bottom of his head and also the top of his head. So 4 different shots spliced together there. As you may have guessed, masking that net was a nightmare. Yeah. That's why we cut quickly. And also it's more effective.
Lovely day for it.
Real neighbours again. Hopefully not too scarred.
Sausage.
Why not? After Effects cutscene. A clever idea, if I do say myself. In order of death. Yeah, a mix of old friends, new actors, and also crew from Uni TV. So, a real mix of brilliant, incredible people working on that film. All talented, all awesome, and all ready to get their hands dirty with a bit of crazy action comedy filmmaking. There's not much more really for me to say about this film, except we edited it within about 2 weeks, which was mad. But because there was so much other stuff going on with Harrybot, I really wanted a distraction, because that has got a lot of things I needed to think about and a lot of sort of darker thoughts as well. And there'll be a video, I'm sure, to talk about that in the future. The only other thing about this film is that it was a massive test project. It was a test for me using DaVinci Resolve. So I'd recently that year got my latest camera, which is a Sony A7S, which could shoot S-Log. And we shot that entire thing in S-Log, so that means it's super flat, super uncontrasted, very desaturated, but it retains all the information for you to then pull information from and pull it in whichever way you want to. So that film was a massive test project to get my confidence up with using the program before then using it with Harrybot 9000, which also had quite vivid greens and reds to it. So I wanted to make sure I knew how to use it properly before giving it a go. So this film was made really bring up that vibrance, but tastefully, and really work on making those skin tones contrast and pop as well. So it was definitely a lot of things going on there, lots of learning processes, and that's the main thing why I make the films. Really, you'll probably hear it's a common trend in these commentaries. I make these films so that I can learn to do something better or just get good at something, and for this one, many things. I hope you found this sort of director's commentary / breakdown of the making of this film interesting and or useful. If you like these, let me know in the comments below, or you want me to talk about particular films and break down how we made them, or even my thoughts about them. I am doing regular uploading content on Instagram at the moment as well. You can follow me at SebCoxFilms, and I've also got at SebCoxFilms for Facebook and Twitter as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.